In this video, I'll discuss 3 spectacularly surprising lone note modulations, one from Beethoven's 4th Symphony, one from Mozart's 3rd Horn Concerto, and one from Brahms's 3rd Piano Sonata. Remember the stunning common tone modulations I pointed out in my Schubert String Quintet video. This just means that the 2 chords have a common tone, in this case the G at the top. Lone note modulation is a term that I just made up to describe the examples in this video, during which the common tone exists all by itself, unaccompanied for a period of time between the 2 chords. The first example occurs in the opening movement of Beethoven's 4th Symphony in B-flat major, which begins with this mysterious, foreboding slow introduction in B-flat minor. By the end of this slow introduction, we've tonally wandered to the point where this suddenly loud B-flat major chord no longer sounds like the tonic, but functions as a Neapolitan chord, tonicizing A major, the chord this slow introduction ends with. Now listen to the orchestra starting a few bars prior to this. So how does Beethoven get from this A major chord to the exuberant B-flat major theme that begins the exposition section? Well, it turns out there's a common tone between the A major chord and the F7 or dominant 7th chord of B-flat major. This unaccompanied lone note common tone crescendos in the violins to the dramatic fortissimo entrance of the dominant 7th chord that eventually leads to the tonic of B-flat major on the next page. The second example is from Mozart's 3rd Horn Concerto, K447 in E-flat major, that begins with this theme. Because this is the orchestral exposition, the second theme now enters still in the tonic key of E-flat major. In the music that follows, notice this figure that on the next page crescendos with these amusingly rhythmically out of phase repetitions, after which the confusion is resolved at the end of the crescendo with this strong downbeat. This quirky little moment never comes back later in the movement, so you have to notice it and enjoy it just this once. The orchestral exposition then ends with this closing figure, introducing the soloist's exposition that begins with the same opening theme we just heard. The moment of interest comes in the development section, but before I get to that, remember that in this prior video, I pointed out the similarity between the second theme in this horn concerto and this nearly identical theme other than the shifted downbeat from the K467 C major piano concerto. I'm certainly not the only one who notices these things, as you can hear in this 2011 recording of the horn concerto, in which horn player Alessio Allegrini, in his cadenza for the first movement, so when downbeats aren't as apparent, sneakily plays the theme from the piano concerto instead, with its completely different continuation. Let's now skip to the end of the soloist exposition that again closes with this green figure, now as expected in the dominant key of B-flat major. The development begins by using a single repeat of this figure to modulate up a minor third to the D-flat major entrance of a completely new theme played by the solo horn. We've finally arrived at the moment of interest, when a portion of the new pink theme we just heard repeats with these 5/7-1 cadences. In D-flat major. As we just heard, the solo horn now enters with the lone unaccompanied note, this G-flat, confusingly written as an E-flat in the score, but in concert pitch just the same note an octave lower that we just heard from the first violins. The surprising modulation now occurs when this G-flat becomes the enharmonic F-sharp in the new very temporary key of D major, up a half step from the D-flat major key of the pink theme. What makes this modulation even more intriguing is that the new surprising D major chord emerges gradually, with each of its three tones entering at different times, the final one being the new root of D natural, but introduced by its leading tone, C sharp, that has been ringing in our ears during this bar of rests as the enharmonic root of the prior chord, D flat. After this spectacularly surprising modulation, the yellow motif returns from the exposition section, cycling through various other keys before the music eventually returns to E-flat major to begin the recapitulation. Now listen to this entire development section to hear this moment in context. The strangely specific topic of this video was mainly an excuse for me to discuss my favorite example that I saved for last, from the final fifth movement of Brahms's third and final piano sonata, Opus 5 in F minor, an extraordinary masterpiece he almost unbelievably composed at the age of only 20, during the months surrounding his historic initial encounter with the Schumann family, after which Robert Schumann, in his famous laudatory article entitled New Paths, referred to the young Brahms's earlier two keyboard sonatas as veiled symphonies, likely due to their symphonic proportions and complexity. And you'll notice that this is even more true of this third sonata, that often sounds more like a virtuosic Liszt transcription of a symphony. The spectacularly surprising modulation occurs in the electrifying coda section of the finale, but to experience it in context, let's start at the beginning of this remarkable rondo-esque movement that opens with the recurring F minor rondo theme. Shortly after this, Brahms introduces a dreamy new theme in the parallel F major, beginning with the FAE cryptogram that stands for the words frei aber einsam, or in English, free but lonely. This was the personal motto of Brahms's good friend, violinist Joseph Joachim, who had just facilitated Brahms's fateful meeting with the Schumanns, and to whom Brahms had already dedicated his Opus 1 piano sonata. Back to the Opus 5 piano sonata, this new theme is likely another less obvious tribute to Joachim, pictured here standing up next to Brahms in this photograph from 2 years later in 1855. The F minor rondo theme returns and eventually introduces, with a simple single modulatory bar, this majestic chorale-like third theme in D-flat major. Unlike the dreamy orange theme we just heard, that never returns, this new purple theme will pervade the remainder of the movement. If this new purple theme sounds familiar, you might be remembering the more famous Alphorn theme I discussed from the finale of his first symphony. Back to the sonata, this first phrase repeats an octave higher, and the theme concludes with these additional phrases. Brahms wastes no time developing this theme, since on its final downbeat, it immediately repeats as a canon between the two hands. The canon of the rest of the theme stops short after a single bar, replaced instead by this rhythmic motif, the famous Beethoven Fate motif, returning from several of the prior movements in this sonata. Brahms now uses the first 4 notes of the theme, played slightly faster in imitation between the two hands, to transition back to this brief tentative reappearance of the F minor rondo theme, but now accompanied by these fragments of the new purple theme. The remainder of the movement almost seems like a competition between these two contrasting themes, and we'll find out shortly which is victorious. More imitation of this purple fragment modulates to an A-flat major entrance of the rondo theme, again accompanied by the purple fragments, introducing the actual return of the rondo theme in F minor. After this last prolonged F minor section, the final build-up to the coda section now begins, with more imitative purple fragments accelerating to the F major beginning of the coda section, marked più mosso. The left hand begins with this new rhythmically confusing variant of the theme. This first portion is actually note for note the original theme, but with its strong beats shifted in the compound meter, so instead of the original dun 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 dun, we now hear dun 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 dun. This new rhythmically camouflaged version of the theme amazingly now accompanies the original slower version of the theme played by the right hand. This time the left hand version is strict for even longer, now including this final portion. As the original theme continues in both hands, notice that the faster accompaniment still contains fragments of the theme, including this final portion of the first phrase and the beginning of the last phrase. Instead of the purple theme's final note, we suddenly shift back to F minor as the rondo theme jumps back into the fray, accompanied by the continuing purple fragments, culminating in these rhythmically augmented or slower entries, now in major. after this dramatic pause, the tempo suddenly becomes even faster in the final presto section of the coda, starting with the same new variant of the purple theme, but now accompanied by these enormous rolled chords in the left hand. Listen now for these repeated 3-note fragments of the beginning of the theme, eventually played by both hands, crescendoing to the whole point of this video, this climactic, spectacularly surprising lone note modulation from F major to C flat major, a tritone away. This entire portion leading to the modulation implies an F7 chord with these E flats, so in F major it might sound like a 5-7 of 4 chord about to resolve to a B flat major chord. But instead, the E flat becomes this syncopated lone note common tone of this earth-shattering C flat major chord that accompanies the returning 4-note fragments. Notice that this is the identical chord relationship we heard in the Mozart example, with the 7th scale degree of the first chord becoming the 3rd scale degree of the next one, with the roots of the chords a tritone apart. Now listen to this remarkable moment. After several euphoric bars in C-flat major, another crescendo begins as these fragments in octaves modulate to another climactic moment. This fortissimo B-flat major chord, the expected resolution of the F7 chord so many bars earlier. B-flat major is short-lived as this cascade of even closer imitative fragments modulates back to this F major chord, almost like an extended plagal cadence. The rondo theme now makes one final appearance, now completely transformed into the ecstatic mood of this coda section. But the final phrase of the purple theme has the last word, followed by 2 actual plagal cadences from B-flat major to F major. Now, to end this video, listen to this entire virtuosic and exhilarating coda section, miraculously composed by a 20-year-old Johannes Brahms.